Pay very close attention, citizens, as to what is going on in response to the Little Bighorn, the Waterloo, the disaster that we refer to the debate as. Watch the reaction. What are they up to? What are the Democrats planning? What is the countermeasure? What are the Republicans going to do? Do not focus your time on just merely reacting. There are 130 days until the election. Let me say this again, dear friends. 130 days. Think. How do you think? What do you look for? What should you be paying attention to? And what should you ignore altogether? Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy the ride tonight because you have picked the right place to be. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so honored to have you back where you belong. Ladies and gentlemen, we have so much to discuss, so let's jump into it. First and foremost, what are the Democrats doing? What are they planning? Don't turn your back on them. Don't misunderestimate, as someone once, I think it was George W. who used that term, misunderestimate. Don't misunderestimate these folks. What do they have in mind? What are they doing? What is their plan? They're not going to sit back and take this. Now, as I have told you for the past 2 years, to signal to the Republicans, signal to them that they had better pay attention as to what's happening, because I've been talking about two people forever, Gavin Newsom and Greg. Oh my God, Gretchen. Oh God, I'm pulling up I'm pulling a damn Biden. Gretchen Whitmer. Jeez. He's got me so freaked out now because every time I forget one little name, like the lead singer for Focus and Hocus Pocus. Was that Jan? Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom. President, vice president. Now, let's talk about this. How do you respond to that? What's your take? Well, let me point out a few things to you. Number one, it's not what you think. It's not what I think. Of course, they're not our choices. We don't want these folks. What are you kidding me? No. Nobody wants them to be a part of this. Absolutely, positively not. The question is, and what's really important is for us to think about, is that what do you think is going to happen? Next, we don't want this to happen. We don't want there to be these two. Let me say this again to you. Let me make sure you understand what I'm saying. We don't want this. We don't want them. I don't want them. Not as the winner, but as the candidate. What is it that we want? Now remember what your people are doing, and I'm seeing it right now, and I love you to death. When you say Gretchen Whitmer, someone wrote, is Kamala 2.0? No, she's not. No, she's not. Don't just react in a way of slamming them, popping some pejorative, trolling them, saying something about them or their brains or their looks or their electability. No. You're underestimating these people. Don't ever put Gretchen Whitmer in the same category as Kamala Harris. No. You see, what's happening is that we're not looking to see what you think. It has nothing to do with what we think, what I think. Of course we don't like them. Of course we don't. These are hardcore Democrats from the shadow government. Listen to me. This is about politics. This is about psephology, the study of elections. This has nothing to do with who's good, who's smart, who's a lefty, who's no. In fact, do me a favor try this. Say nothing about their attributes. We don't care about that. Some people think that by making fun of Gavin Newsom or Newscum, giving him a name, Gavin Newscum, that means something. That somehow changes something because you've come up with a pithy, a kind of a pithy, punny little rephrasing of his name. That doesn't mean anything. That's a meme. That's not what's going on here. It's not about us immediately saying, well, he's terrible. He's done a terrible job. No, we want that. What do we want? What do we want? From a political point of view, think. No name callings, no more cute names. What do we want? What do we want? Okay, everybody, I know everybody wants to vent. I know. Let's don't vent. Vent later. Vent after the election. That's not what this is. I don't want to vent. I don't want to make fun of people. I don't want to sit around and talk about, that's not it. I want to talk strategy. I want to win this. After we win, you can vent all you want. What is it that we want? Let me rephrase this. Whom do we want as the Democratic nominee in 130 days? Who? Who is it? Who do we want? Whom do we want? Come on, everyone. Whom do we want? Whom? Biden. Thank you, Shelby. Biden. We don't want Gavin Newsom. We don't want Gretchen Whitmer. No. We want Biden. We don't want to hurt him. That's right, Seabass. We want Kamala and Biden. Absolutely. Keep it. Don't hurt him. Thank you, President Trump. People were saying, President Trump didn't go in for the kill. He was perfect. You don't have to. You don't have to say anything. You won, sir. You won. There's old Pat Kelpie. God bless you, Pat. Pat's been a member of us for 4 months. We want this. I want Biden. Hold him up. Back off. Don't demand anything. I read today's, I was looking at Real Clear Politics. Oh my God. Oh dear God, they're coming after him. Did you see this? Real Clear Politics. Here are some of the articles, stories. It's very good. So it's a wonderful little aggregate. Rarely are so many lies dispelled in a single moment. Very wise. Tom Friedman, New York Times. Biden is a good man and president. He must bow out. I'm just going to read the titles. Why Dems and the media lied about Joe Biden's frailty. Oh, come on. You didn't know this? You didn't know this? Don't insult my intelligence. Don't tell me you didn't know he was this bad. Everybody knew he was this bad. Hope isn't lost for Team Biden after the first debate. That's it. This is from Hayes Brown at MSNBC. Good, Hayes. Good. Very good. Democrat operatives know they're stuck with Biden. Good. Georgia voters appalled by Biden's weak performance. Okay. How Trump shockingly thrived with the new debate rules. Yes. This is Jack Schaefer from Politico. Yes. It was wonderful. It was evidence there is a God. There is a God. It was wonderful. SCOTUS, let me see. SCOTUS delivers a blow to DOJ's prosecution of J6. That's good. We'll get to that later. Here we go. RCP, Real Clear Politics, Monday morning. A fumbling performance and a panicking party. These are just the names, the titles of articles. No cheap fakes here. Biden's debate gamble backfires. Mark Penn. Mark Penn. Hillary's guy, the one who was responsible for coming up with the whole birther movement. This is why Michelle Obama in particular hates Hillary Clinton. Time to go, Joe. The Atlantic. Now the entire world knows what liars Dems and media are. Oh, please, we knew this. Can Dems replace Biden? It's complicated. No, it's not. But I want you to do that. Biden is the Democratic Party's nominee. This isn't the 60s. David Axelrod. Good for you. Biden said, watch me, the country just... So, do you see where this is? Now, listen. We must act like adults. We must recognize what's going on here. We must understand what is happening here. Our good friend Sally Lee says, over here in Australia, God bless you, we are not shocked. We saw the cheap fakes and new media was lying about Biden. Absolutely, Sally. And by the way, you better watch out for your great country as well, because what they're doing to you, the deprivation of your particular rights, we're watching you. Just like Germany passing a litmus test, a fealty test, where you have to praise or what have you, or accept the right of existence, whatever that means, of Israel to get a German passport. We'll talk about that later. Evan Saint Simonis says, Danabash made it clear that the plan is to rig the election again when asking Trump to accept the results of the election. The real concern is, what are we, the people, going to do about it? Be soft or act? No. What we do is simply this, with all due respect, dear friend. We need the Republicans to be doing something. And Sally says, new, not new. He is in fact quite old. Well, he's old, but let me tell you something. I know this may sound as a surprise to you, but old today is a different story. No. Listen carefully. What is so wonderful about what's happening right now is we're seeing panic, but that's okay. Trump has got to sit back and pray to God that they don't pull a switcheroo. What happened last night will be with Joe Biden forever. What happened last night will follow him like bad flatus. In fact, there was a suggestion of flatus. That's right, flatulence. Did you see this from the Daily Mail? How they're accusing him of this, I have no idea. But they are. There is a real theme as to his apparent incontinence. Have you noticed that? I seem to be seeing quite a bit of it. It's fascinating. Now, let us not lose track of what we're talking about here, my friends. This is what's going to happen and what I hope happens. Everything stays as required. I hope that the Democrats say, we're not going to tell. This is what I would say. If I could somehow go in and be the voice of the Democratic Party, be the voice of these lunatic people. What I would do is I would go in and I would say, you're not going to let those those Republicans tell you what to do, are you? You're not going to let them do that. Let me get you down from there just a second. You're not going to let them do that, are you? You're not going to let the Republicans tell you, the Democrats, what to do. You carry on with Joe. Joe's a good man. Joe's a good man. Brian says, debate before the convention and Gavin, they're on scene. I pray he won't be replaced, but he will. Let me tell you something. I really worry about Gavin Newsom. I worry about him. I've been saying this. I hope people have been pushing this. Gavin Newsom is a threat for a number of reasons. Number one, he's new. New meat, new flesh, a new person. He's new. So whatever happened with Joe is forgotten. It's new. What scares me about him is that when he comes forward, standing there tall and sartorial, he makes people realize, oh, yeah, That's right. Now, this is more like it. The contrast will actually make him look better. Listen to what I'm saying. The contrast will make Gavin look even better. Younger. What is his age? Let me see. Just for this. Gretchen Whitmer is 52, by the way. Gavin Newsom, age, he is 56. Remember to whom Gavin was married. Remember, he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, the ostensible fiancée of Donald Trump Jr. Madam Stamp says, Dr. Jill will single-handedly keep the campaign alive. Let us hope, dear friend. Let us hope. You go, Dr. Jill. You go, girl. We want this. Keep Joe on. Did you see Joe at the Waffle House or wherever the hell he was? Yeah. You did great, Joe. I sure did. Wasn't that great? That's what we want. You go. Because what happens is anybody who follows, who takes America's mind off of the horror show, I don't have to remind you, do I? Do you remember this moment of absolute terror? Watch Donald Trump's face. This is the only clip I want to show you. I don't need you to see anything else, but I want to remind you. And watch how great Trump was. He held back. He was kind. I don't want to hear anybody say, well, he should have done this. He should have said this. He should. Stop it. He was absolutely perfect. He was perfect. Perfect in every way. He was wonderful. Excellent. I don't care if he went through all that he did. He didn't have to do anything. And as people are saying before, my dear friends, the debate setup made the differences look even more palpable. America and the world will never forget this horror.
That $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. Person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID.
Watch.
Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
He's showing almost pity, like what?
Look, if
he doesn't have
finally beat Medicare,
hold back
among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that
dear God,
the impact on
that's right. He let Joe hang himself.
Everybody, they pay. The millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% to be able to guarantee the program for life. The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
And that is that. That was perfect. Brian says he called him Brandon at one point. I missed that, sir. He didn't have to call him anything. Now, with that in mind, if all of a sudden, here comes Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom will be on his own, nothing that terrific, nothing that great, nothing that spectacular, nothing that interesting, nothing great. But compared to what we saw, people might inadvertently say, well, now that's the kind of guy that we're, yeah. This is the one, this is what scares me, is the contrast to come along. And for Gretchen Whitmer, who comes across normally as a very frightening, very scary person, she has no warmth, no nothing. But you know what's interesting about her? Compared to Kamala Harris, she'll seem like Madame Curie. Pat Kelpie, thank you, Pat. That's what's interesting. And that's what I hope doesn't happen. Now, the next thing the Democrats are doing is they're talking about working as a team. As a team. Okay? Now, someone said, when someone writes, for example, what about Newsom and Michelle Obama? Let me tell you something that happened a while back. During the O.J. Simpson case, I thought that people were following the story. And I thought people followed the facts of the case. I thought they knew who the players were. I thought they knew what they were seeing or hearing. And then people one time would say, what if I think it's Al Cowlings? You think it's Al Cowlings who killed what? Well, I don't know. You don't know. It was just taking a person and throwing him in the mix. Al Cowlings? Why would I don't know. Someone said one time, maybe it's Justin. His son killed his mother? What? I don't know. So you're going to hear people say, well, maybe Michelle. Maybe Michelle? I don't know. Maybe. So when you say something, and you can say whatever you want, but ask yourself, what would really make a difference? Michelle Obama is nightmare. I have no, I don't dislike her like others do. Stephen Lynch says, am I the only one that thought I saw Biden touch his right ear at least 3 times during the debate? You know, there were times, Stephen, where people were saying, was there some kind of a headgear? Stephen, my question is, did it help? The last thing you want to do to somebody who is cognitively addled is to put something in their ear, to have him hear a voice different. Let me explain, and I'm glad we brought this question up. Do you know what an IFB is? This is an interruptible full back. Anyway, it's an earpiece. It's the earpiece you wear, and the floor director or whatever the director's like, hey, wrap it up. Let's go, wrap. Come on, break it 5:30. Wrap it up. Thank you. Tell them to go wrap. When you're on a set and somebody's talking to you, you want to go into the studio and destroy this person because it throws you off. Rap. And they get sometimes nervous. And as you're trying to finish something up, well, thank you very much. We're talking to rap. Oh, we're talking, and your eyes bug out. And these idiots, these directors of people have never done this before. They've never appeared before a camera and they have no idea. So when you have somebody talking to you, I would insist, please, Joe, use as many notes, confuse him. Earpieces, drugs, signals, codes, notes. Give him notes. Give him that Karine Jean-Pierre book. Trump should have said, you can do whatever you want. Notes, anything. He is a cognitively suffering man. The notes mean nothing. Do you follow what I'm saying? Anybody else, it would have helped. Earpieces would have helped. Assistants would have helped. It confuses him. It was even more beautiful, more sublime. It was gorgeous. So, what scares me is, please, let it be Joe. Don't put on Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say that Joe Biden is a great man. And I want to thank, and I'm going to carry on with a great message And I'm honored because they're telling him flat out, he says, I am not going to take this. I am not interested. I am not interested. That means he's interested. And when they say, Mr. Newsom, you said you wouldn't do it. Well, I said at the time I had no plans to, but when my party needs me and when my country needs me, I'm going to do it because must do everything in our power to stop and to prevent another term of Donald Trump. I was listening to, I love the show, Breaking Points with Sager and Crystal, and she said, even though Trump is a liar and this, it's like, why is Trump a liar? Why is Trump a liar? They say these things. There are people who just hate him no matter what. And they call him a racist and a misogynist. What is he lying about? I'm dead serious. Now, Joe's lying when he said that they're all suckers. He never said that. I want to explain something to you. I want you to listen to me. This is a new take. And I'm going to keep telling you this. And I'm going to keep saying this. This is not about what we like. This is not about what we like. It's not about when someone said recently, Taylor Swift is bigger than the Monkees. People will invariably come back with, I can't stand Taylor Swift. I don't know where this comes from. I don't know where the reaction comes from. I don't know where my take to this is. I don't like this. Soccer is the number one game on the planet. I don't like soccer. I've never watched soccer. We're not talking about you. Number two is cricket. Cricket, that's crazy. I don't want to. Again, people always, it's part of the American thing too. Well, I don't watch that. Well, Mark Zuckerberg, well, I don't have Facebook. I hate Facebook. I don't care about Facebook. Well, CNN, I don't watch CNN. I don't even have a TV. Anything else you don't do? Oh, no, I don't do that. So am I supposed to stop talking now? Yes, you're supposed to stop talking because I don't enjoy Taylor Swift. So whatever you have to say about Taylor Swift, stop it because I don't like her. This is what people do. I don't listen to Taylor Swift either. It's not the point. It's not the point. Not the point. If he gets up there, and I was saying to a friend of mine, very nice man. He said, but why would they vote for or want Gavin Newsom? California is terrible. I'm saying, do you know whom he is theoretically going to replace? And the reason why he's going to replace him is not because he's better, but because it's that bad. He's replacing Joe Biden. He's replacing a country that's falling apart. The Democrats don't even mind the policies of Joe Biden. They're just afraid he might be senile or demented or what have you. Let me say this again. They like open borders. They like this trans craziness. They like abortion. They like the destruction of our civilization, of our family, of our morals. They love this decay. Do you think they're going to draw the line with Gavin Newsom, who's this towering, tailored, young? His policies are identical. And as far as California not doing well, he's going to say, those are Trump's policies. He's going to make something up. He's going to give some reason for it. And people will say, okay. Let me say this again. Democrats don't think like you do. When you say this stuff to them, they don't care. They don't understand it. It means nothing to them. There's something about it. I don't know what it is. Now they're actually looking at you in the face and saying, oh my God, they lied to us. I'm going to say this again, okay? on the eve of the actual 2020 election, I was on a show, I'm not going to mention which one, and I told the host, I said, Joe Biden is out of his tree. Did you hear what he said about corn pop? Now, nobody got that. Nobody was listening to this because most people, especially Democrats, are extremely unsophisticated. They don't know any better. John McGuire couldn't get higher, said, there must be something really off with Gavin if they have to drop him in like this. That is no primary. Well, it's not there's something really off with Gavin. There's something really off with Joe. And John, I thank you for this. I have been telling you this. How long have you known me? I've seen this coming. I was telling people, you don't understand. Joe Biden cannot do this. He won't last 130 days. Now, here's a new one. Let me throw this one at you. You ready for this? Let me give you a new one. I heard this one. I love conspiracy theories, again, that are conspiracy theories. Okay. They did this deliberately to replace Joe. What? They did this deliberately to replace Joe. Who did this? The Democrats. What did they do? They put him out there early ahead of the convention in order to make him look bad so they would remove him and replace him. Why would they want to do that? Why? Now, let's assume that whenever somebody does something, forget the logic of it. Let's assume that people are doing something because it helps their cause. Does that make sense to you? Yes. Good. That it helps their cause. Why would they want to do this? Well, it works something like this. Let me see their point. They want to replace him, so they put him out to destroy perhaps the entire party, to destroy Democrats, so that everybody can remember this night. Let me ask you, is there any one of you fine people who has heard anyone say anything even remotely approximating Joe did a good job and I think he was fantastic, answered the questions and acquitted himself well? Have you heard anybody say that in any way? No. Joe Scarborough, who was the biggest suck up, the biggest lickspittle, bootlicker, this absolute obsequious, fawning, this, oh my God, this, he doesn't even, I don't even know what to say. In fact, Meager was talking with somebody and said, I think it was Nancy Pelosi, and said, does Joe really have this? No, he's talking to Joe Biden. Joe, he goes, do you think maybe Joe might not be up for this? Can you imagine asking somebody as though it's not obvious? See, this is something which they do. They play these games. It's not gaslighting you. It's making you think that, maybe it is gaslighting. It's this thing. So let me ask you this question. Let me go back to this. Why would they want to do this? Why? The Republican Party will never forget this. Let me see if I can put this into context. And I'm not trying to, again, belabor the point. But this will be never forgotten.
Everybody, they pay.
Let me say this again. This is like nothing else. This is not just a gaffe. This isn't just a moment. This isn't the moment of
1%. So no one after.
This is something that will be forever chiseled in history. Everybody knows. Thank you, OA. Appreciate it. Thank you. Everybody will remember this moment. Everybody will say, well, from the debates from now on. See, up to now, I was reading the histories. Do you follow this history? I think the biggest, what was it, 76 or 70? I don't know when the hell it was. It was Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. And Gerald Ford said, there will never be Soviet entanglement or Soviet influence in Eastern Europe during a Ford administration. And Max Frankel from the New York Times said, what? This was during a debate. This was then when it was proper. And even Carter said, now, what he was trying to say was somewhat grounded in a little bit of reality, but now that was nothing compared to this. Nothing. That was nothing. Medley Childress, thank you. That was nothing like this. Nothing. George Herbert Walker Bush looking at his watch was nothing. Michael Dukakis, they thought this was the worst. Willie Horton. When Bernard Shaw, I guess, George Bernard Shaw, said, I think his name was, from CNN, said, if someone viciously murdered your wife, Kitty, and Kitty, poor thing, remember that she went through, she was a terrible alcoholic and drinking mouthwash. It was just so sad. It really was tough. And Michael Dukakis, instead of saying, the death penalty, I'd rip him limb from limb myself. I would utilize the most medieval of tortures. But Bernard, that's why they don't let me on a jury. That's not a fair question. Of course we would want to see anybody who hurt our loved one hurt, damaged. Of course we would. But he didn't do that. He goes, and now, I'm a smiley dog, says, I'm speechless. I am, and you and President Biden as well. They thought that was the worst moment ever. They talked about that as though this was the most unbelievably stupid. That was nothing compared to this. Do you understand? There is nothing in any way, nothing that in any conceivable way, even remotely replicates what this thing was. It was that bad. It transcends everything. It was like taking somebody who was coming out of anesthesia, like a man walking out with a gown with his arse hanging out and an IV drip, walking out with those hospital scuffies and his hair messed up. It would be like that. And ladies, would you let your husband? I asked Mrs. L, she told me, she goes, I would never let you go out there and do this. How did this happen? And then they have the unmitigated gall to say, we never knew it was that bad. Are you kidding me? Barry Weiss writes an article because she just realized, my God. I want to change the subject a little bit. One of my passions, as you know, is, of course, small engine repair. But the other big one is psychology. I love brain stuff. And I love demented behavior. And I love to diagnose it. I know so many people. And I'm going to talk to you about one thing. Do you know liars? Let me see if I can explain this to you. Do you know what a lie is? For those who've just tuned in, and by the way, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to Lionel Nation. Make sure you are subscribed. Because I'm finding out that people are unsubscribing. It's critical that you join this because I'm going to give you an hour, 2 hours, whatever, of the most thought-provoking stuff you've ever seen in your life. I'm going to make you think. This is a tutorial. This is a tutorial. You're going to walk away every single day and you're going to say, That's all I want you to say, What is a lie? A lie is a complicated thing. There was a great case I read years ago. Second District Court of Appeals out of Florida years ago said a lie is a misrepresentation of fact. Oh, but with the intent to deceive. See, I can misrepresent something. I could say something, but if my intention was not to in any way deceive you, it's not a lie. I can say something wrong. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1493. Well, that's not a lie. It's a misrepresentation, or it's a fib, or it's a misstatement, but I didn't intend to deceive you. But then sometimes it gets even worse. When somebody says, that looks great. Do you like this new haircut? Love it. Am I deceiving you? Well, yeah. But it's more like it's an opinion versus a lie. A lie is something about what happened, not a feeling. You see what I'm saying? We have to be able to use gradations, to parse, to explain these very interesting differences. Okay. Have you ever known somebody who lies, but doesn't lie, but listen to me carefully, does not know the difference between reality and truth, fact and fiction, made up delusion and reality? Do you know this? Do you know people? Thank you, Pamela Moore. Do you know people? I've seen this my whole life. One of the classic examples of schizophrenia, and by the way, schizophrenia is not dual personality, but somebody who doesn't understand reality, somebody who hears voices, doesn't understand where they are. Our good friend Tahuya Bar and Grill, we need your logical analysis these days. Indeed. By the way, Tahuya sounds like a Tahuya, like you're expectorating. Thank you, Tahuya. You're a good person. And please frequent Tahuya Bar and Grill. Open 7 days a week for your dining and drinking pleasure. And don't forget, plenty of free parking. I know somebody who said, oh, I'm a concert pianist. What? Jerry, what's the matter with you? You just told that person you're a concert pianist. What? You said that you told this woman right now with a straight face you're a concert pianist. You can't even play anything. Oh, yeah. You okay, Jerry? Now listen, we embellish a little bit. See, one of the things I love, and I'm a real fan, it's a great show on YouTube. Did you ever watch Don Shipley, Stolen Valor, Underwater, UBS, Underwater? No, Buds 131 with his wife Diane. What Buds class were you in? You get Stolen Valor. Have you seen these people? This is demented. Now, this isn't still, they're just liars. Those are people who say, yeah, I was a Navy SEAL. What? And they were booted out from the Navy on a garbage scow, and I was SEAL Team 6, and they walk around in uniforms, and they have fake tridents, and they got 2 or 3 medals of honor like Smedley Butler. Oh, I love these people. No, this is criminal. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who are not con men. Con man is somebody who knows what they're doing. These people know what they're doing. They deliberately lie. The lying I'm talking about is somebody who has a delusion. Now, a delusion is somebody who says, I don't know how to fit in. I say these things because I don't know why. George Keane is never delusional. He says, couldn't believe the missed opportunity at the debate by Trump when they were talking about handicaps. Trump should have said, JB, your only handicap is your state of current health. Oh, I disagree, George, and thank you. But I think that would have been cruel. Let me say something, George. There's a lot of people out there who look at Joe, and I'm telling you something. There is a part of me that if I wept, I would have wept. I would say, this is unfair. This reminds me of when Rocky Marciano had to beat Joe Louis and hurt him. And he kept telling Joe, please take a dive. Just go down. Don't make me stop this. And he cried. He cried. It was unfair to see this great, and Biden during his time. This is somebody who is ill, and the fact that they would do this. These people who show you all of this compassion about, the people coming, the aliens and the migrants and the children. They look what they did to one of their own. You think Obama would have come out and said, "Stop it! Stop! We can't do this." Joe, come on, we're going home. No, Joe, please. This is after Adderall. This is after maybe an earpiece. This is no. I think Trump was right. He mentioned something about you're a liar because he lies. But let me go back to what I'm saying. I had a friend of mine one time who was bipolar, and actually later on it turns out he was a bit schizophrenic. George Keane says, by the way, I hate making JB jokes because he is a victim of dementia. Well, George, I say this, he might not even be dementia. We don't know what this is. We really don't know what this is. Let me stop for a second. I'm glad you brought this up. See, we think we know what these terms mean. Alzheimer's, dementia. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, but dementia is kind of like it's just a kind of a generic. We don't have MRIs. We don't have cognitive things. Remember, he had that subarachnoid aneurysm years ago in 88 or whatever. This is when they did brain surgery, where they really, it was no nice little, tiny little hole punch in the skull. I mean, it was serious. And there's a wonderful book entitled roughly, "You Ain't the Same When the Air Hits Your Brain. You're never the same." Because, as we said years ago on the chiffon margarine commercial, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Well, Mother Nature doesn't want you opening up noggins and looking around and poking around. So there were people who, by the way, Joe may have some senescence. He may not be full-blown demented. It might not be dementia. He might just be old. Some people, listen, Alan Dershowitz, who is obnoxious, he's 85 years old, sharp as a tack. Noam Chomsky, until fairly recently, he might have been this guy was a genius. Anna says, "Let freedom reign." Indeed, Anna, thank you. And George Keane says, "I'm no doctor, but are those discolors on his temples?" I don't know about discoloration, pigmented differences. When you get older, ladies and gentlemen, remember a couple of things. When you get older, things happen to you. I got news for you. Necks and hands. You can always see that. Necks and hands. There's something that if you get older, look at this. Somebody's father was 98. Marco, we just had a friend of ours who died at 103. When you get older, your skin gets thinner. You lose a lot of the collagen. You lose a lot of the subcutaneous fat. You know how sometimes your hands can get those spider veiny look. It's because your skin gets thinner because of it. It's just the way it is. All kinds of things on your neck. See these things here? Do you ever get these? When you get all of a sudden I go, hey, look at this. It's called a platysmal dehiscence. The platysma is a sheet of muscle, and dehiscence is when it pulls apart from the fascia, and everybody gets it. And you go like that and all this stuff. But it's one of those things. It's just one of those things. Hey, men, have you noticed? Did you ever have hairy legs as a kid? I did. Then all of a sudden one day you say, hey, somebody shaved my legs. What happened? It's just come on, ladies. What's the first thing you noticed when you got older? Something like all of a sudden you say, I woke up one day and I've got bingo wings. What? I'm telling you, I've got these things on my arm. Okay. There's some things about getting older. Your judgment gets better, though, by the way, you know that. So I mean, I'm sorry. Some of it is dementia, some of it is just getting older. But you've got a guy who's been around for a long time and he's seen everything. You want to have somebody who says, "Oh, I've seen this before. Oh, I know what this is about." You want to talk about somebody who talks real fast. Take Destiny, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ben Shapiro. Put them in a room. And they've got judgment for crap. They've not been around. They don't know enough. They think they're smart, and that's the beauty of youth. But the difference is between knowing, having judgment, saying things, experience. Oh, I know what this is. Let me ask you something. Marco says vision and teeth. Interesting about teeth. Teeth actually get harder. You don't get cavities when you get older. Vision, of course, changes. Little things happen. You get like a cataract that comes in. Hey, listen, don't worry about cataracts. We're going to have new lenses, all of us. Don't worry about that. Brand new lenses. I got a brand new lens. But let me ask you something. Would you want to go back to 25? Hell no. What are you talking about? What? What? You know these people like Bill Belichick? He's like 72 or 3, and he's got this 20-some-year-old girlfriend. I'm thinking, does he have to talk to her? Do they have to talk? Can you imagine spending time with somebody who's in their 20s? This is your romantic influence? Or your interest? What are you talking about? To a 20-year-old? Oh, dear God. Please, stop it. It's one of those things that are just... But it's not his age. Alan Dershowitz is 85. Oliver Wendell Holmes was, Jesus, I don't know how old. He was incredible. Some of the... You know what's also fascinating is that when people peak out very early, Orson Welles, Peter Bogdanovich to an extent too, and Einstein. Einstein hit it young and really never... So anyway, let me go back to what I was saying. When kids are little, when kids are little, sometimes they'll have an imaginary friend. Did you have an imaginary friend? I had a sister with an imaginary. She had a cat. Didn't exist. She was 38 years old. I'm kidding. She was a kid. Well, that's okay. That's imagination. Okay? Let me keep going. Then you get the stolen valor people. They don't really believe they were in the Navy SEALs or buds or frogmen. They just like the acclaim. They don't believe that. There are other people who believe. That's Biden. Let me tell you what's happening. When Biden would go off, there was something called, this neuroprogramming. Let me ask you something. Look at me now. Look at me right now. You ready? Okay. I want you to think of your mother's face. Think of what garlic smells like frying. Can you think of that? Isn't it something? You're saying, yeah. How do you remember a smell? You just do. Now, you don't realize this, but what you just did to access a face versus a smell versus where'd you leave your keys, your eyes will look up. They call it neuro-linguistic programming or whatever, but your eyes look up to access different things. Watch when a kid is making a lie up, like, did you do this? And the eyes start to look up to access. Your eyes actually, even blind people who are thinking of things will look sometimes. There's something about this. When Joe, that time at the pool, was talking about corn pop, did you see the way he was there? He was moved to this time and he was living it. And it never happened. Now, there might have been somebody actually named corn pop, believe it or not. There might have been somebody who named corn pop, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something a little bit more serious here. We're talking about him kind of off. He was off there. And that's when I realized, oh my God. Another thing. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. Do you know, and I say this, do you know that, and maybe you've seen this. I hope you never have. It's very scary sometimes. But did you ever have a relative who, when they had a form of dementia, they got kind of hypersexualized? Now, let me just ask you something. Have you ever noticed this? I saw this once. We had a relative, and something was weird. He like some of the ladies would say, "Have you noticed, Uncle? Did he say anything?" And that is often an accompanying factor of dementia. Why does he do this stuff with women? Why does he go up and grab and kiss little girls and people on the lips? I think people who kiss on the lips who aren't spouses or lovers, or I think is weird, but that's me. Why does he do this? Why was he smelling hair? Why was he coming up behind people? Why was he doing this? Why? Two reasons. Number one, judgment center turned off. Weird stuff that happens. Sometimes with a little bit of psychopathy. You don't have to be a full-blown psychopath. Be a little bit. Sometimes the amygdala doesn't really fight or flight, emotions. It just, limbic system stuff. It doesn't, you see a woman, and whereas most men would say, that's a nice, he can't stop. It's, I know how to react to that. Let me touch them. And when you're a U.S. Senator and you're allowed to get closer, so that's another thing he did. So he's making up things about this. Plus, he talks about his bravura. Remember that guy? Remember that one time he said, "Come on, buddy, let's you and me do some push-ups. I'll take you outside." When he told Donald Trump, "I've got an 8 handicaps," like, what are you talking about? Again, it's that limbic system, kind of like an infantilism, a little boy, testosterone problems, aggression problems, women problems. Do you believe Tara Reid? I do. Tara Reid, nobody believed her. You know why? Because when women get older, for some reason they look at her and they say, well, it's the weirdest thing. If an 80-year-old grandmother came up and said that something happened to her when she was 20 years old, people look at her and I don't know what it is. But if she was 20 now, then they can relate to it. That's our problem. So let me recap. This is a guy who is a predator. He's not a drunk. Doesn't have any, as far as I know. Nixon was a drunk. LBJ was a drunk. Remember Nixon slapping around Pat? It's serious stuff here. But that's not his problem. And he lives in a world, interestingly enough, that fostered and allowed this depraved son of his to rise to the top. Where do you think if somebody along the way sat down with Hunter and said, let me tell you something. The only thing I know how to do is to be a senator, and you're not going to screw this up for me. If I find out you're doing anything, I've got people watching you. I promise you'll be a grease spot. You're not going to ruin this for me. Do you understand that? You're not. I don't want to hear about your addiction. I don't want to hear about your brother. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. But he never did that. Why? Because Biden's like that. Because Biden's not, there's something wrong with him. Psychologically wrong. Judgment, behavioral problems, a behavioral disorder. It's not that he's psychotic. There's something wrong with him. When he perseverates on this myth about his son Bo dying in Iraq, and how many times have he said, Joe, why are you saying this? It never happened. And he did it. He doesn't know. He doesn't know, and he doesn't care. Imagine this, okay? This is a string. Imagine a piece of monofilament fishing line. This is normal, okay? Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to tie a knot in it. That knot is the problems associated with Joe's aneurysm and the problems attendant to surgical, post-surgical, whatever. Okay? That's enough. The second one is a little bit of who Joe is anyway. Joe's been lying about his accomplishments, delusions of grandeur. He said he was number 1 in his class. He got a scholarship. He marched with Martin Luther King. Lie, 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 lie. Not. Now we got 3 knots. Now the knots are they're getting thicker in this fishing line. Okay? I got 3 of them in there. 4. I'm going to leave it at this because I don't have confirmation of this. But if I told you what I heard about the story behind the tragic death of his wife and Jill and why that happened, what the story was about, it'd blow your mind. I don't think it rises to the level of repeating because it's not really, you can't prove it. But you know when somebody says something to you and it makes sense? This one makes sense. So let's throw that knot in there too. Now let's talk about the fact that for the longest time, he has lived this weird kind of entitled life where everything he wanted, he got. How do you explain he mortgaged his Wilmington house 30, almost 40 times? Who allows that? No, they're not. Let's also take this. He doesn't care about being caught. This is one of the things which is the most interesting. One of the trappings of a serial killer, all of them don't want to get caught. Oh, some will toy, the Zodiac or BTK, they write notes. But most of them, Ted Bundy never wanted to get caught. Ted Bundy didn't want you to know about him or nothing. They have this idea of, I don't want to get caught. Joe never cared about being caught. Never. It was bulletproof. Everything he did was somehow, he was prevented from any repercussions. Another knot. Now let me hand this fishing line to you and say, now get these knots out. Tell me which knot is the leading cause of this problem. You don't know because it's a mess. That's Joe. It's a combination of Gordian knot composites over and over and over. It is so complicated, this guy. And they've known this since day one. Let me tell you what they do. And don't give me this BS about, wow, the Democrats, we're just finding out. What was the thing that Joe did that to you blew you away? What was the thing that he did? Remember, he gets to approve everything. Hunter is not smart enough to do anything. Hunter was having hookers and the Secret Service was bringing him the credit card for the Chateau Marmont. What was the one thing that they did that you thought was absolutely what? I'll tell you what mine was. And this goes to show you how demented he is. When everybody was watching him, when everybody was paying attention and really focusing on Joe, somebody told Hunter, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on and you're going to write some, oh, by the way, this is my Edie Crowley prize possession, which I want to make sure we got this. This goes into our collection. This is the most beautiful. That's to Mrs. L. I'll get mine. But this is love and work, and we have our collection that we save. But what Hunter Biden did was he said, I'm going to take a thing. I'm going to do finger paintings or something, and I'm going to just sell them. And nobody said, excuse me, yes, Mr. President, Merrick Garland is here, along with Mr. Ray from the FBI. You think they would say, you can't do this. I can't protect you from this. You can't do this. What? You can't have your son do finger paintings and sell them for $100,000 a piece. 500,000. I'm being, what was the discount? So that, and not reveal who these people were. You can't do this. Do you understand what we're saying? You can't do this. But he did it because he doesn't care. That's the one that got me. That's the one where I thought, oh my God. Forget Bob Alinsky, forget the big guy, forget Burisma, forget the fact that China decided to invest in Hunter's hedge fund. China doesn't invest in a hedge fund. China is a hedge fund. And then he did that thing with I forget what it was, with one of the Romney kids. I mean, nothing stopped them. And you know, and I know what's in that laptop. They always talk about the fact of the laptop. Well, he said it wasn't his, but it was his. That's not it. What's on there? And Joe, let's talk about the relationship you had with your daughter and her diary. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. This guy is up royally. I mean, royally. This guy is just. Do you know that every country has dossiers on world leaders put together and compiled by their own psychiatrists? Israel has it. In fact, rumor has it that, was it Bibi's wife wanted to read the story, I think it was Gideon's Sword or whatever, wanted to read the review of Hillary Clinton because she was obsessed with Hillary Clinton. Do you know what they say about us? Do you know how this man has compromised us? You know that if right now, as we speak, right now, do not be surprised if somewhere in the Ukraine area, there is a small tactical nuclear weapon that is detonated. What would happen right now? All of a sudden, breaking news. North Korea, China, Russia, whatever. Somebody, in response, warranted or otherwise, detonates a tactical nuclear weapon. Who's in charge? That's why the Democrats are putting out the word right now. It's about a team. Do you know how bad this is? So I'm just saying, pray to God. Pray to your God that he can hang in for 130 days. Let Trump get in there. I don't want to hear anything about, well, I'm not a big... Shut up! You're going to vote for Trump. Well, you know, he tweets, you're going to vote for Trump. Trump is chemotherapy. I don't want to hear anything about, how, he's, no, you don't understand. America is dying. This is a cancer. This isn't just a corrupt shadow government. This is at its core. And you pull him out, you bring in this interferon. He's like stem cell. He's like a pluripotent stem cell. Chemotherapy. This is Trump. Radiation. And you go in and you try to undo everything. You fire everybody. You unravel this mess. And you must, Mr. President Trump, I beg you, you've got to be ruthless. You've got to go after the Trumps, because I promise you, there's no statute of limitations problem. I'll bet you through either novation or whatever particular doctrine you want to know, there have been ongoing criminal conspiracies. There is certainly racketeering. Absolutely. The Biden family is a criminal enterprise, from James, his brother, to the whole story. You have got to go after him. Now, do you know why Mr. Herr from DOJ said, I don't want to release this, because if I were to put Biden on trial, they would see this old man. Now, do you see it? There's something to be said for that. Trump has got to be vicious. Do you think he can? I hope he can. When Trump wins, he cannot have any kind of an inauguration. He's got to go right to work and just go after these people. And retribution, honey, like you can't believe. If we're going to make it, and I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, I'm not. He is the only way to go. This is a godsend, sort of. This secures President Trump's reelection, provided Joe is not replaced. Provided. Let us pray, dear God. So, my friends, remember, you and I are on the same page for this. I want to thank you. I want to thank George Keene, Anarchy, get it? Anarchy. The Tahuya Bar and Grill, I'm a Smiley Dog, Medley Childress. OA, thank you so much. John McGuire couldn't get higher. Stephen Lynch, Pat Kelpie, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Hayes, Madam Stamp, thank you. Sally Lee, thank you. Ivan St. Simonis, I believe, thank you. And again, for you and your incredible focus. It is so appreciated. Now, I want you to understand a couple of things too. You must, first of all, make sure you are subscribed. I cannot say that enough to you, my friends. I cannot say this enough to you. I cannot tell you, I cannot ask you, but for some reason, I don't know why, different things happen when all of a sudden, sometimes we get unsubscribed, and it's most infuriating. So the best way to ensure that doesn't happen is to pay attention. Also, I ask, and you have been so wonderful on this, please follow Mrs. L at the following link. This is Lynn's Warriors, and here is a special link for you to push, to click, to activate, where you will go immediately to the sign-up page for her. It's that important, that critical. George says, I'm no doctor, but oh yeah, thank you. He says, oh, here we go. Blue News says, Lionel, been listening since your days in Tampa. Love your show. Oh dear God. That was from 88 to 93, something like that. I think a long time ago. They didn't even thank you, sir. But please follow Mrs. L. Lynn's Warriors. It's important because what is happening right now, Biden has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, my friends, remember this. I want you to understand something. And I want you to make sure you understand this. You and I are on the same page. We are never adversaries. I don't want to be like anybody else. I can't be like anybody else. We can sit around and just make fun of people, and that's fun. But I want to talk about strategy. I want to talk about what we're going to, what we need to look for and how to win this. It's the election. And I told you my number one fear is for all of a sudden some new law to be allowed that permits the inclusion or the acceptance of or the tallying of votes from newly minted illegals. And we will never know until this actually happens. So let's don't get ahead of the game. President Trump was fantastic. And remember something. What you saw last night was shape-shifting. It changed everything. That was history. That has never been seen in recorded history. It was that bad. So don't scream too hard. Don't demand. We don't want Gavin Newsom to replace him. We don't want Gretchen Whitmer to replace Miss Cackles. We want them to stay there and to lose triumphantly. So please help Joe Biden. Support Joe Biden. Get in at least past the nomination. Please pray. Not contribute, but recommend and inspire him and encourage him to keep on. Come on, Joe. You can do it, buddy. Don't let that mean old orange man tell you what to do. By gum, that's what we want. Okay? All right. All right, dear friends. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening. Thank you for your love, but thank you, more importantly, for your seriousness and your sobriety. There is so much to this case. We're going to be talking about this for a long time to come because it unraveled and it exposed so much. Until then, my friends, I say to you, as I always say at the conclusion of these intellectual soirees, these little salons, I remind you, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.